The Malcriada podcast covers various real topics, including the experiences of women and femmes, which, unfortunately, is not always all sugar and spice in a sick world like ours. With that being said, Malcriada Productions would like to offer a warning ahead. Your mental health matters. But no, I'll always try to speak on things with passion, yes, but also nuance. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Malcriada, Thoughts of a Girl in a Sick World. And what a sick world it is indeed. This is your host, Sadria Knives, here to talk to you about all things femme, fair, and feared. Thank you so much for being here. So, a little update on the future of the pod. I plan on taking a little break to focus on my other creative projects that I'm working on after completing the first season, and then I'll just focus on promoting it. And not so much putting out a new episode because it's so hard to put on an episode every week, like for me at least. And yeah, but I will be working on it, and don't worry, a season 2 will be following. And if you have been keeping up with me this whole time, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for supporting my show. Thank you for supporting me. I will have more for you guys next season, whenever that may be. All right, enough tickling each other's toes. In today's episode, we'll cover New Age spirituality and its rapid rise in popularity in the mainstream. Let's start the show. Do you remember your first experience online? Sometimes I wish I could forget mine. The first social media website I heard about was MySpace. Before my time, never made an account. But my older siblings would not shut up about it. They'd spend all day in their rooms, chatting, laughing, isolating. Time passed, and site replaced site. Now everyone's talking about Facebook and Instagram. It was where all the kids would spend their time now, where they conversed, bonded, published their memories, where they documented their life. It sounded fascinating, and it was for like 2 seconds. Then came the constant comparison amongst peers, porn being shoved in your face, and the like or you're going to hell posts. It's evident that though the internet played an immense role in shaping and encapsulating an entire generation, it also brought many social repercussions we are working on healing today. For many of us, the internet was a tool of escapism from our childhood environments. But just like any tool, it can be used as a provision in the right hands and a weapon in the wrong ones. The internet has played an immense part in the spread of New Age spirituality. We see this as indigenous practices go viral time and time again, breaking into the mainstream by popular demand. But why aren't its originators receiving the same attention as the imitators? Though social media has the power to unify people globally, it also serves as a platform to further normalize the appropriation of indigenous cultures, down to every aspect. Ironically, there's nothing innovative about it, especially since the raw materials used to create our technology come from the displacement, exploitation, and enslavement of indigenous people around the world. In this episode, I will cover the evolution of bigotry in our technology, the colonization of indigenous practices desired by the collective, and lastly, the one thing bigotry lacks: soul. Now, onto conspiracy theories, social media, and the sudden spike in crystal sales. Okay, first we have the evolution of bigotry in technology. So whenever someone's talking about pipelines, they are referring to a sequence of events that will lead a person down to a certain way of thinking. So the new age spirituality to the alt-right pipeline would be a sequence of events that leads people to the far-right extremist views while using New Age spirituality as a point of entrance. Another example of a pipeline would be the school to prison pipeline. But the issue with pipelines is that the people who fall into them do it out of ignorance. And these pipelines usually benefit the government anyway. Therefore, political authorities provide band-aid solutions and or make big promises while campaigning and not fulfill them once they make it into office. In the Washington Post, writer Marissa Meltzer states, in 2009, Charlotte Ward, an independent researcher on alternative spirituality, began to notice a hybrid of conspiracy theory beliefs and New Age culture cropping up online. She speaks in reference to Jacob Chansley, devotee of QAnon, which is at the center of most white supremacist discourse, and usually the final stop on the New Age spirituality to alt-right pipeline.
Zadria, you're throwing words around like I'm supposed to know who the fuck this loser or QAnon is.
Oh shit, you're right. Okay, so you guys might not know what QAnon or this dude is, but you've definitely heard about them. Let me explain. So first we have Jacob Chansley. This motherfucker was the dude, one of the dudes that was raiding the fucking Capitol, who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. But here's a little more information from fucking the internet, yeah. And he subscribes to the QAnon political movement, theory, whatever. And I'll explain all of this right now. Jacob Chansley is a believer of QAnon conspiracy theory, a convicted felon who participated in the January 6th United States Capitol attack, for which he was convicted on charges of obstructing an official proceeding. Then there's QAnon. What the fuck is QAnon? QAnon is a far-right American political conspiracy theory and political movement which originated in 2017. QAnon centers on fabricated claims made by an anonymous individual or individuals known as Q. These claims have been relayed and developed by online communities and influencers. Their core belief is that a cabal of satanic, cannibalistic child molesters are operating a global child sex trafficking ring which conspired against Donald Trump. QAnon has directed roots in Pizzagate and internet conspiracy theory that appeared 1 year later, but also incorporates elements of many other theories. QAnon has been described as a cult. We were kids, like, when all this stuff was, like, forming, because this new movement online and this conspiracy theory, and I guess now it's a political movement, right? But at the time, it was just conspiracy theories that people would show online, and people would start to believe them, and it was really trippy to me. And this is what I have to, this was my experience on that. As a child exposed to the internet in their developing years, I was no stranger to this theory, or its bastardized versions of it. It translated to real life with snotty kids running around the school yelling "Illuminati confirmed" at any chance they got. This came from the consumption of popular conspiracy theory videos on YouTube, growing rapidly. I remember the algorithm taking me down to videos about Beyonce and Shakira being devil worshippers and Obama being a shape-shifting lizard. Though the kids around me talk about these theories with ease and jocularity, as a little girl with a very strict Catholic evangelistic background, I was terrified. I never thought about these things as jokes. I thought I was going to hell for looking up to these people as role models. I felt incredibly anxious, thinking that subliminal messages were going to force me to sell my soul to the devil against my will. This was also before I knew that YouTube videos generate money, ignorant to people's desperation for it, which leads me to fear-mongering, projection, and commonly used threats to the American lifestyle. As a side note, here is a definition for fear-mongering: the action of deliberately arousing public fear or alarm about a particular issue. And fear-mongering is used almost always against a marginalized community. and not really towards the oppressor, because what? They are the ones in power. Moving on. Shanspeare explains this concept best in her video, Are We Entering Another Moral Panic?, which will be linked in the show notes, so go watch her stuff. But to summarize, she explores the history of moral panics in the 80s and 90s, like the McMartin preschool trial, for example. More women were going back to work by choice and necessity in the wake of women's rights movement, and as the country struggled with the recession. Conservatism and the religious right were ascendant, and both emphasized the nuclear family. Mary D. Young, a professor emeritus of sociology, explains in a New York Times interview. Good daycare was hard to find, Ms. D. Young said, and many parents felt guilty for relying on it. And after decades of denial, the public was starting to confront the problem of sexual abuse, especially involving children. You hook all those things together magically, and boom, you've got the proper fuel for a moral panic. Shanspeare draws similarities between these past moral panic cases and present cases, which usually involve conspiracy theory videos with celebrities using some sort of satanic iconography. After watching her video as an adult, I let out the biggest sigh of relief. I didn't know that there was a history of pseudo-Christian parents falling into mass hysteria and moral panics in times of hardship. I didn't know that the media outlets disproportionately drag celebrities with marginalized identities. I was still a kid when I heard about all these conspiracy theories, but soon I learned I was worried about all the wrong things. This is your reminder to boycott new technology, gold, and diamonds in support of the CONGO. Speaking of, we see so many celebrities wearing blood diamonds, practically profiting off slave labor. There are so many levels of wrong to that, but don't get me wrong. These theories still use celebrities as scapegoats for the downfall of the world, especially the ones with marginalized identities. They are the live advertisements to the pretty, luxurious lifestyles capitalism sells us. But they're not real. So, how does this pipeline affect us? The problem with this pipeline is that it's a very leaky one, spilling throughout the entire internet, reaching vulnerable populations. So, think of our elders, people who didn't grow up with the internet like that, or children who spend more time with a screen than with their actual families, or anyone looking for a sense of belonging, which is everybody. The internet is not easy to access or navigate for everyone. Coming from a religious, dysfunctional household, I was an extremely anxious girl, worried about what everyone else thought of me, desperate for love. That anxiety, that pit in my stomach, became almost like a surveillance, not with a calm, guiding energy, but with a, I'm always watching you, so be on your best behavior or else kind of way. The influence evangelical Christianity has on Latino households is tremendous. Of course, I challenged this as I grew, and my access to a search engine helped me learn so much, not just about myself, but the world. However, it also introduced me to concepts way too early as well. But upon doing so, I found a love for truth-seeking. Questioning everything is so important because we are so divided through confusion and chaos, and the people affected the most are indigenous people around the world. This pipeline advocates the erasure of indigenous beliefs through appropriation. And if there's something I've learned, is that none of us are free until we are all free. Upon doing some research for this episode, I stumbled upon Amy Fayas's article, El Pueblo de Israel, Latino Evangelicos and Christian Zionism. In it, Fayas covers how this played a major role in her religious upbringing, the ubiquitous Jewish and Israeli iconography in Latin America, and her discovery of the history of Palestine and its people while studying in university. I encourage y'all to check it out because it's important for Latina folk to ask questions and not stay complacent, even when it comes to questioning our religion and its sources. Latin and Middle Eastern cultures are so intertwined, but even if they weren't, we still have to show support for our global family. Free Palestine always. Which leads me to the colonization of indigenous practices desired by the collective. Okay, so I'm gonna say a little bit of a background inspiration for the episode and the cover and all that stuff. So I came across this video on TikTok, and in it you see the girl talking about a bracelet, and this bracelet has two different types of beads. One of the beads is the evil eye talisman, the Nazar, and the other bead is a Confederate flag. I was so confused and like shocked when I saw that. Like, why would anyone make this bracelet? Like, it would have to be someone who literally does not know anything about that talisman. Why would anyone make this bracelet? Like, it would have to be someone who literally does not know anything about that talisman. And I had been like thinking about this like pipeline idea a little bit before, like back when I still lived in the valley, and I started seeing people talk about it now. So I was like, oh my god, it's a thing. I'm not crazy. It's a thing. Like, it's not a coincidence that all these people who are saying like, oh, love and light and you can manifest anything and blah, 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 like, are full of shit. Like, they're literally full of shit. Because it's all stolen. It's all stolen. And the fact that like the Nazar like has such a is such a world known talisman, and its origins are from the Middle East, and for us to have the US to be literally funding a war between Israel and the people of Gaza and Palestine is just insane to me. And it's just like, how are people just not seeing this connection, and how are a certain type of people getting all the quote-unquote clout and attention for these types of like practices? Same with yoga. There's lots of creators on Instagram and TikTok talking about how yoga is a Hindu practice, and it's not that not anyone who is in Hindu can't do it. You can do it, but you have to do it with someone who knows and do it in a respectful way. And it's just so much, like, you can tell when someone wants to talk and respect indigenous people and like their art creations, and then people who just like appropriate it, and it makes me so pissed. And I made this episode like 10 billion times, and I rewrote it so I can sound as palatable as possible, as much as I can, because at some point I have to say what I think, right? And yeah, it's just really ugly to see. And it really baffled me. That's pretty much it. And I was happy to see other creators, other brujas, other people acknowledge that. So shout out. They will be linked in the show notes. And now we're here. Yeah, but I guess it makes sense, right? We've seen this happen so many times before, when oppressors take the culture of the oppressed and claim it as their own, and pretend like they made it, and pretend like they're doing something new, and they're being so different and quirky and like woke or blah. But I want to speak to what this says about the world right now and the environment right now. What I get from this is that people in the US are yearning for a community, a real community, not just a fucking subscription, not just a membership to one. They are fed up. We are fed up. And it sucks because like the US is made up of, yes, of course, like colonizers and settlers, but we were also it opened its I don't want to say open, but it promised, there we go, it gave a false promise to other immigrants, and people fleeing war, people fleeing terror in their own countries, immigrants, first gen kiddos, and we left our culture, well, not leave it, we brought it with us here, we wear it proudly, but we left a lot of us back home, we left a lot of our life behind, because big colonizer countries like the US, Britain, Japan, etc. think that they could just take whatever they want, take all the resources they want, and that's just not okay. And it's been getting harder and harder to find people who don't subscribe to that kind of thinking. Like, it's really irritating. But that is just the irony that I find in anything. It's like, it's just not fair that these people, and it doesn't apply to a specific type of person. Like, it's worldwide now. We have such short memory spans, and I think it's really important to listen to indigenous people, listen to them, don't tone police them, ask questions, be respectful, and just, bro, like, chill. You need to chill. But no, in all seriousness, it's not funny. It's funny as in, like, I can't believe we are in this, and I can't believe that people don't see it. That's the part that hurts the most. Like, people don't acknowledge it, and they just think, oh, well, it's for everyone. Faith can be for everyone. It's like, we're not talking about that. We're not saying you can't be you can't be a witch. We're not saying you can't be practice yoga. No one's saying any of these things. The fact that no one is saying that, it's the fact that people, settlers, colonizers, think that they can go, they think that they are entitled to anything. And if someone says no, they're like, I can still do it because I have money and resources. I'm talking in circles, but damn, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like a broken record, because that's what I am. That's what we are. We're saying we're tired, and then they're saying we don't care. Work for me and exhaust yourself so I could have a luxurious life. And I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of it. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck that was. But yeah. Final thoughts. All right. Guys, okay. Okay, so summarize. The New Age spirituality bullshit is just appropriated indigenous practices. That's it. Like, literally, that's it. It's just really sad to see. And it's not like I'm out here saying we need to all come together. Like, I'm past that point. It's kind of like, if you want to learn, you can learn. And if you're not, then, like, there's nothing to say. Like, there really is nothing to say. I guess I'm just here to just offer more guidance and offer more, like, validation, because there's not enough validation for immigrants. There's not enough validation for Latinas. There's not enough validation for indigenous creators. There isn't. And like fuck, like, you know what I mean? Reconnecting bitches. Hello. You know what also annoys the hell out of me? So one of the writers that I quoted, who wrote an article on QAnon and the connection to New Age spirituality in conservative spaces and, like, alt-right spaces now. Well, this baby girl, Marissa Meltzer, it was just weird, because I love the connections that she made. I love the connections that she made in her article, but I couldn't help but notice a little bit of hypocrisy. And because in her article, she says that the Chansley dude was her ideological opposite, yet there was something about him that was familiar. It's like, bro, she's saying, like, oh, this guy looks like a granola dude. Why is he thinking like a Nazi? Why is he thinking why is he subscribing to this QAnon stuff? Because she said, I'm familiar with the granola hippie-esqueness, so I'm confuzzled. That was basically her. I go to her website because I'm like, okay, I like what she's saying. Let me go to her website. Maybe she's about it. Maybe she, maybe this white lady, maybe she understands it. And I go to her website, and baby girl is selling yoga classes. She's selling she has a yoga problem. Yeah, she has a yoga issue. No, she has a website where she like sells yoga classes, and yes, they're super expensive. And will I ever know if they are actually like, you know, not appropriative? Will I ever know? Well, I don't know, but like the people who I can't say because it's behind a paywall and I can't see what they're about really, and I just see like regular, you know, woo like granola stuff. And then I go to her writing and she's just writing about like Emma Chamberlain. Like, how do you go from talking about the alt, like why are you being featured and talking about this stuff? I don't know. Like, it's just like I wish they had more credibility. Like you're saying, oh, this dude is my ideological opposite. Like, is he though? Because you guys are both taking up space. You guys are both appropriating cultures. Like, is it that weird? Is it? Like, I could have told you that. I could have been like, oh, you guys do seem really, you know, familiar. Ooh, I wonder why. I don't know, baby girl. And that's the thing. Like, capitalism relies on selling you something you already have inside. And spirituality is no exception. And I think that's a really big part that people are still missing. That capitalism and white supremacy are intertwined and you cannot separate them. And as much like as you want at this point, I don't think it's possible. And I understand that that's how the world works and that that's the world and the reality we're living in. But at the same time, you can't ignore it. You can't say like, oh, well, I'm going to keep doing this because that's just how the world is. It's like, yeah, but what are we doing to combat it? And that's a really big thing that I think this generation is taking more seriously. Not more seriously. Let me not say that. I think that we have been propped up and there has been so much work and history behind this revolution. And I think that I am forever grateful for all the work of activists that come before us. Yeah, like, you know, there's so much. We've been so brainwashed and we are so forgetful. It's important to keep coming back. I'm excited for this new movement, the coffee revolution. If you haven't heard about it, look it up. It's the next thing, the next move, and I'm just excited to see. And I don't know, I'm very bittersweet because I'm very hopeful, but I'm still going through all the like collective mourning that we're all going through, and I really just do want to validate that. Yeah, like I see y'all, I see it, and I understand that this is not the time to make ourselves to have a mindset, that a giving up mindset. It's not okay, no matter what situation you are. I have lots of ideas that I hope to bring forward soon. I'm always making like these like other worlds in my head. Like when I was little, like I was like, in my world, this is such a funny idea. let me end you guys off on a funny little note. Okay. When I was little, I would notice how everything was so expensive and how my parents would struggle with getting groceries and getting like us like stuff that we need for school, etc., etc., etc. And just having a house. Like to this day, my parents don't like have a house here in the U.S. Like I want to get them a house. That's pretty much like one of the things that I want to do. And I hate that. Alright, let me tell you my little story. I would notice that, and I would be like, if I made my own world, I would make everything like $1 or something like that. But like literally, like if me as a child can like put together that there needs to be like a cap on like certain like things, like why can't my politicians figure that out? And why is it so impossible? Like it's the only answer that they could fucking give is like, no, it's because you need to work harder. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I will stand on that. I know that I am on the right side of history. I don't give a fuck if how that sounds. Like, that's just how it is. And I know, because like all I care, like, bro, like, you're gonna tell me that I'm a fucking like criminal or whatever because I want everyone to have a house, everyone to have like a place to live, everyone to have water, everyone to have free access to water, free access to healthcare, free access to food, free access to mental health care. Like, you're gonna call me crazy for wanting to take care of other people? Like, you're not gonna gaslight me. Like, I believe that's true. And yeah, like, what the hell? All right, you guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope that this makes you think. I hope that this validated you in some way. I hope that maybe this opened up a new idea in your head. Maybe when you're walking, you're like, oh, this she made me think of a poem. Oh, she made me think of a movie idea. Or she made me think of this, and she made me think of that. Or she gave me this idea to go make a little group with my friends, and we can have a community. Like, that's what I want. Like, that's the best thing that you could do. If you're not even gonna like comment or like share my podcast or like anything, or like check out my other video, the least you could do is like apply it to yourself. And apply what like I'm telling you into yourself. Like, I don't care if you don't comment. I don't care if you don't, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the internet is not real. The internet is not real. But it is. But it's not. But it is. But you know what I mean. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Malcriada, the of a girl in a sick world. And what a sick world it is indeed. This was your host, Sadria Knives, signing off.